Hello, my fellow parishioners at St. Leonard's Parish. This is Father John Sella, talking to you from our chapel here in Franklin, Wisconsin, Francis and Clare Friary. Before I started talking, you were looking up at the San Damiano cross, and for us as Franciscans, the San Damiano cross is very important. There's a story that when Francis was in a war with Perugia, he was taken as a captive, as a prisoner of war, and after about a year of being in prison, he was released and allowed to go home. And unfortunately, he developed something like what we may call today post-traumatic stress syndrome. He was a lost soul. He didn't know what to do, where to go, how to take care of things. And one day he was walking upon this old, beat up old chapel called San Damiano, and he went inside and he stayed there and prayed. And the story is that at one point in time, this crucifix, the original one, Cruz Cross, spoke to Francis and told him to go out and to rebuild his church. And that gave Francis the stimulus to go out and to have a focus again. My prayer for you, especially during these critical, scary days, that at this time you are listening to Jesus talking to you, that Jesus is talking to you and saying, don't worry, I'll take care of you, things will be okay one way or the other. And I hope that that's the case. What I want to do now is just show you a little bit of our chapel, and I'll give you a few talks from different rooms in our house. So I would hope that you'd be patient with me as I try to work with this camera. When you walk into our chapel, this is the first thing you see, the podium with the scriptures on it, in the background the altar, and on top of that the San Damiano cross. Over on the left side there are a bunch of chairs, and also on the right side a bunch of chairs. We gather here in the chapel 3 times a day. Once for morning prayer, once for Mass, and once for evening prayer. In terms of morning prayer, there's what we call the Divine Office, the Breviary, Liturgy of the Hours, and all religious and all diocesan priests and deacons have to pray the office. And it's the same thing. Father Dan has to celebrate the office, and so do we. We do it as a community and pray. Father Dan usually does it by himself, as well as Father Deacon Rick and Deacon Larry. Anyway, we come in here and we pray, and we hope that our prayers are being answered, especially these days. So anyway, this is our chapel. Our Blessed Sacrament is in the tabernacle, the chair, and this is where we pray. This is where we spend a good part of our time together. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, the San Damiano cross spoke to Francis and gave him a sense of where to go and what to do. During this time of Lent, especially during this crisis experience, this is a time for us to listen to what God has to say. I think many times that when we go into Lent, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to give up a beer, we're going to give up candy, we're going to stop doing this, and all that's okay. But the more important thing is that we listen and be open to what God is talking to us. And I think a question that we have today during this Lent, what is God saying to us? How is God helping us get through this crisis with ourselves, with our families, with our friends, and with our church, our country, and yes, my brothers and sisters, our world. We are all in it together, and we're suffering, and I hope and pray that at the end we'll be able to say to each other, wherever we're from, that we truly are brothers and sisters trying to work things out. I've said many times how much I hate Lent, and I do, I really do. But we're coming up to Holy Week, and I love Holy Week. I love the celebrations. I love the opportunity to walk with Jesus and to be able to ponder what Jesus went through. And I would hope that all of you, despite all the craziness in the world, that you find some time in the upcoming week to be able to enter into the celebration of Holy Week. Enter into the Palm Sunday experience. You know, we may not be able to have palms for Sunday. We may not be able to gather together as a community, but certainly in our homes. You know, would you ever think of getting together with your family and sitting there watching the Mass on TV, or perhaps even just sitting there reading the scriptures as a family or as friends or as a couple, and just talking about Jesus and his journey through Jerusalem, where in one moment they are singing his praises, and the next moment they're plotting and planning his death. Take some time to reflect on that experience of the palms. You know, people laying down the palms in front of him, singing songs, praising him. I know for myself that, you know, just a few weeks before this crisis all started, I say, we had a great year last year, and it's the best year ever, and that the markets are great, unemployment is down, the church is in a good state, and like that, the things change. But have they really changed? Is God still God? And is God still looking after us and loving us and taking care of us? I think that's an important question, and I know some of you say, yeah, that sounds good, but what about all those people who've died so far? Is our God walking with them as well? Is God walking with those people who can't be with their loved ones as they die? And my answer to you is yes. Our God is there in ways that we can't even imagine. But our God will not let us alone, will not abandon us, and will take care of us. The great celebration of Palm Sunday. I would hope that you take the time, find some palms or find something and wave them and celebrate Christ's coming as your Lord, your Master, your Savior, and the one who loves you. Okay, I'm going to take you to another room now, and we'll share more stories there. Thank you. This is our dining room. This is where the friars eat our main meal every evening, and we come together as a community. One of the things that identifies us as Franciscans is the fact that we gather together. Some might be truck drivers, some might be doctors, some might be lawyers, some might be nurses, some might be teachers, some might be people working in soup kitchens. But what identifies us most is a sense of fraternity and brotherhood. When we come down to the table together, wherever we're working at, whatever our ministries were, we are a fraternity of brothers, and we try to do our very best. For us, meals are very important, and I think I've mentioned to you many times in my homilies that I think it's important for you also to spend time with your families or with your loved ones or your significant other or whoever, and have a meal together. And not just sit in front of the TV with a fast food meal, but to actually sit and talk. I think I mentioned to you one time before, an Italian friend of mine says, you Americans don't know how to eat. You just wolf down your food and that's the end of it. Whereas a meal should be something where you sit, you talk, you share, you listen to each other, and you savor each little taste. When you're eating a piece of steak or a fish or a piece of hamburger or whatever, that you taste the spices in them, you savor them, and you enjoy them, and you remember them. And that you remember the different taste of the meal. And just as importantly, you remember the people you were eating with and what you were sharing with. Are you just sharing bad stories, gossip, or are you sharing life events? I mean, this time during this crisis, there are lots of bad things. You look at the news all the time, it's always bad, bad, bad. But what about the good things that are happening? How about all the people who are reaching out and touching other people by phone calls, by being generous in different ways, by helping out the parish, by giving to the food pantry, by reaching to the sick and the elderly? There are so many things that we could talk about and share as a family, which brings us up to the whole idea of Holy Thursday, the Last Supper. I mean, what was your Last Supper like? Was your Last Supper a moment of grace, of filling your soul, your heart, your body, and the community around you. Jesus did that. Jesus ate his last meal. He broke bread. He broke himself. He gave us his blood, and he told us, do this in memory of me. One of the things that I think is important is that when we say do this in memory of me, many people think that it just has to do with having Mass. And certainly the Mass that we have today is nothing like the Mass that Jesus had with his last disciples and even the early community. But do this in memory of me. Are we willing to share our lives? Are we willing to lie down for other people? Are we willing to lie down and help and die perhaps? Maybe not physically, but die to our own emotions, to our own selfishness, and to bring life. The body and blood of Christ is us. We are the body and the blood of Christ. And we are called to celebrate the host in the tabernacle, the presence of God in the scriptures, and also in one another. And I pray, my brothers and sisters, that during this Holy Thursday, that you take the time to eat a meal. It doesn't have to be a fancy meal, it doesn't have to be anything, but just be there together and to talk and to share and to give of your life to each other. That's what I think it's all about. Do this in memory of me. Do this as Jesus did, in loving, forgiving, and caring for his brothers and sisters. And ultimately that meant him dying, but it was still life. So I pray and I ask you that on Holy Thursday, remember the Last Supper, perhaps read the scriptures, maybe watch one of the movies about Jesus and the Holy Trinity, and remember and do it in memory of him. Okay? We'll go to another room. Okay. Hello again. This is our living room. This is where the friars gather every evening. We watch a little bit of the news. We sit and have our meetings here, and we share about the facts of our life and the ups and downs of it. Sometimes we are not so happy, as many people are, and sometimes we have a lot to celebrate. For me, this room pretty much is empty most of the day, and especially as we get ready to celebrate Good Friday. To me, when I was a kid, Good Friday was always special. We would try not to talk. We would try to spend some time in the church, try to spend some time just being alone with our God. I would hope that as you get ready for Good Friday, that you find a place to be quiet, to be still, that you find a place to think of what Jesus went through because of his love for you and for me. A time to experience loneliness, to experience the fact that this was a terrible time for him, but in person of faith. Just like today, it's a terrible time. You hear about all the deaths, whether it be in other countries or especially here in the States, when we hear what's happening in New York, Louisiana, or whatever. It's a tough time. It's a crisis. It's a horrible thing. Something that Jesus went through in his own way, suffering as he saw the world around him refuse his love. I would ask my friends that as we go through this Good Friday experience, you find a way to do something. Maybe if you have a cross or a crucifix in your home, can you gather with your friends, your family, your loved ones, and can you just say a prayer? Can you look at the crucifix? Can you kiss the crucifix? Can you hold it up and know that this is the Lord who loved you, who cared for you, even though you and I were sinners, we were still loved. As I say, this room is empty most of the time, except for the evening. And hopefully on Good Friday, we'll gather together in the evening to celebrate the fact that we are with our Lord, that you are with your Lord. Again, I ask you, find ways to make this work for you. I would hope that at the end of this whole crisis, you look back and say, boy, did I waste a lot of time. I hope that's not the case. I hope you look back and say, gee, I had the grace moment. I had the grace moment to spend time with my family. I had some grace time to spend time with those I care for and I love. Reach out to someone you've lost contact with. Have you been able to find something, even for yourself? Are you taking exercising? Are you walking? Are you taking good care of your body, what you're eating?
we can't say we're all that busy right now, for the most part, except for those who are the first responders or in essential work. But find some time, I ask you, make this a precious, a Good Friday, a good day, a holy day for you as we prepare to celebrate the greatest miracle of the earth. Thank you. Okay, we're talking about a minute or two. Thank you.
Hello again. We're in my bedroom, and my bedroom is on the top floor of the friary or the monastery. Some people call it a monastery, but really, technically speaking, a monastery is where monks live, and friaries are where friars live. So, in a sense, it's not really accurate to say I live in a monastery, but in a friary. But anyway, our second floor of the friary is considered cloistered. No one's allowed up on this floor without the permission of the guardian, the superior of the house. It's time for our rooms, our bedrooms are supposed to be places for prayer, for rest, and for privacy. So if any of you ever came, you probably wouldn't be allowed to come up to the bedroom. So this is my bedroom. Later on I'll show you around the room. I'll take the camera and move it a little bit. For the time being though, one of the things I think is very interesting is up here, it's kind of a interesting rendition of the crucifixion. It's kind of a horrible view of what it must have been like for Christ as he suffered on the cross. This is my bed, and on my bed right here I have, it's a little tiny cross, crucifix, and I got this in 1969. And the leader, the formation director, gave it to me as a little sign for me of my supposedly love for the cross and for following Jesus. And since '69, every single night I put this on my bed when I wake up in the morning time and kiss it and say, hopefully that my day would be a day somehow dedicated to Jesus. I can't say it's always worked out that way, but I do try. Today, as I said, this is a place of solitude, a place where there's time to relax and whatever. Just for example, like Holy Saturday. Today we celebrate a time, supposedly where it's very quiet, a time where Jesus is laid in the tomb, and perhaps visiting heaven and hell. And for all of us, an idea of spending a quiet day as we prepare for the Easter joy, the Easter celebration. I don't know, just a little quick joke type thing. When I was stationed in Philadelphia, the Polish community had a tradition where the priest would go to every house and give a blessing to the ham, the Easter ham, the meat, the horseradish, the eggs, and whatever else they might have had. And then, of course, when the priest is leaving, he would get a little envelope, and more importantly than the envelope was a little shot of Polish spirits. Well, in the Philadelphia area, they have row homes, so you could have like 30 or 40 homes, all within a very short distance. And when we would go there, the usher would drive you to the neighborhood. There would be an altar server that would knock at the door and say, Father's coming. Father would go in there, give a quick blessing, bless the house, bless the people, take the envelope, and then have a shot. Well, can you imagine after one block, 20 or 30 shots? No, I was certainly feeling very, very comfortable, very, very nice that day. But it was an interesting experience of people, and again, traditions and rituals. And I hope that you have traditions and rituals, whether it be at Easter time, or Lent, or Christmas, or whatever it might be. You know, certainly people have baseball rituals, right? You had the party outside in the parking lot. You had parties afterwards. A ritual, and that's nothing wrong. That's good, and it's good to have spiritual rituals, especially at this time. For Holy Saturday, is there a time of preparing? Is there a time of getting together? Of spending quiet time, just relaxing and just enjoying the experience that God is a God and He died for us. In most churches, ordinarily, tonight, Holy Saturday night, they'll be lighting the fire, starting a new season, a new entrance. And that's the fire that's used for the Paschal candle all year round. The idea of the Paschal candle being the light of the world, and that Jesus is that light. Maybe for yourselves, is there a candle in your home that tonight on Holy Saturday that you can light? That there's a light of Jesus in your home helping you and guiding you and your loved ones. Later on in the Holy Saturday ceremonies, there's the idea of the baptisms, the catechumens, profession of faith, confirmations, a new life, new people joining us. I mean, how about yourselves? Have you invited someone to be part of your family or your friends? How many people, my friends, are lonely in their homes all by themselves? Can we ever go out of our way to welcome somebody into our homes? Now, I certainly, right now during the crisis of the virus, that's not a good idea. But somewhere in the future, can we invite people and welcome them into our families? How do we treat, your children's boyfriend or girlfriend or their friends themselves? Is your home a place of welcome where people, kids and people can feel comfortable, welcomed, and cared for? Later on in the ritual, there's the vigil. I mean, some churches will have like 9 prayers, 9 readings, and it's kind of a long ceremony. Most churches just have it down to 3. But the idea of waiting, waiting for something to happen. Aren't we all right now waiting to hear that this virus thing is over and done with, that's peaked and we're moving on and the world's going to come back to where it was? Although I don't think the world will never be the same from this experience. But hopefully we wait. We wait and we try and we experience, just like we're waiting for the coming of Christ once again to our lives. To me, when I was a kid, I always enjoyed Holy Saturday ceremonies. There's lots of running around doing this and doing that and everything, but I loved it. I loved the fire. I loved the blessing of the holy water, and the blessing of the people. Something I would suggest to you, and I probably mentioned this before, is that even though there's no priest, Father Dan and I are not with you right now, but even when you gather your food, can you bless your food? Can you bless your children? Can you bless a candle or a light in your home? I mean, giving blessings is not necessarily just the priest or the deacon, but all of us do it. I know a lot of my Italian friends that in their homes, when the kids go to bed at nighttime, they go to the father, and the father's not there, the mother, and they go put a little sign of the cross on their forehead. May that the Lord be with them during this night's sleep. And sometimes when kids go off to college or go away, the parents bless the child, bless the student, praying that they will return home safely. My friends, you have the power to bless and to make things good and holy. During this Holy Saturday, I would ask that you find ways to make this a Holy Saturday, a day of waiting together as a family, waiting perhaps a little bit quietly, waiting for the Jesus to come into our hearts. And please, rituals are important. Find ways to enjoy this day, this holy day. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around, take the camera, and show you around my room a little bit, and so you have an idea of what it looks like in my room. The cross that you see there on the right-hand side is an Ethiopian cross that I got when I was in Ethiopia, where the priest would walk around with a cane, and that would be on top. And the next to him, it's kind of hard to see, is St. Francis playing with the wolf, petting it. One of my favorite sayings is this, that a good friend of mine from the parish gave me. It's a card say, "Be still and know that I am God." And just this is another thing that's very fascinating for me, is that I'm a big collector of original icon. Icons are something of the Eastern Church, and on my wall there's the various icons various parts of the theology of our church. And of course, down at the bottom lower right hand side, there's sort of a picture of the universe. And you know, I like astronomy, and that's very important for me. Over here is another image of that's painted by the same artist, and that did the crucifix. This is Saint Francis of Assisi, who also shared in the stigmata with Jesus. Then of course I always have a little bit of an angel. I love angels. I love the whole idea that the angels protect and take good care of us. Just a little bit of room. There's a chair, my chair that I sit in. I do my reading. I study my astronomy from that chair. And also, let's see, over here is little ritual things in my room here. You probably like that. Another image of Jesus and Blessed Mother. Anyway, this is my room. This is where I hang up my my habits. They're hanging up there. Anyway, so this is my room. Just want to share it with you a little bit. Hope you have a place where you can find time to relax and find holiness. This is my office. This is where I spend most of my days and my nights. It's not only a place to work, but it's a place where I feel comfortable and relaxed and very much at home. I enjoy my room here, my office. It has a lot of high tech in it, but it also has lots of nice warmthness. Like for example, this grandfather clock is something my parents gave me for my 25th anniversary. And you can probably see a little bit over here. Here's a picture of the Vatican, and it's hard to see, but my room where I lived was right up in the corner there. It's lit up there, and so when I look at this picture, I can actually see my room where I spent 7 years of my life. Anyway, this is where I'm at home. This is me in many ways. It's kind of eclectic, the artwork and whatever else I have here, and I'll show it to you as we finish up the room. But today I just want to remember on Easter Sunday. Can you imagine the moment, the day when the newspapers or the radio or the news tells us that we've conquered the virus, that it's over and done with? Can you imagine people going outside, kissing, hugging, just be so celebration orientated, knowing that this is over and done with, and that there's new life, there's something good, and we're back to our way. Can you imagine the experience for the apostles and disciples of Jesus when they found out that he rose from the dead? I'm sure they were scared initially. I'm sure we'll be scared too. Can we venture out? Can we go and hug somebody? Are we afraid of staying at 6 feet, the social distancing? But once that's done, the joy and the experience that we'll have, the joy and experience the disciples had of knowing that their Lord, their Messiah, had risen from the dead. My friends, this is something, even if the virus isn't over yet, can we still celebrate? Can we still be joyful, knowing that our Lord rose from the dead and continues to love us and take care of us? I ask you, you might be quarantined. I have probably quarantined in terms of, say, at the friary here. But how can we celebrate? What can we do? How can we know that even though the world around us is still maybe falling apart still, but we know inside of us that there's a God who takes care of us. Inside of us we know there's family. How many people have called you up and contacted you, let you know that they were thinking about you, praying for you, and hopefully you doing the same for other people. My friends, in the midst of a crazy world, we still have hope and we have faith and we have each other. We had the family here at St. Leonard's, people caring for each one of us. How many people are working very hard to make everything work and be as productive as possible. I ask you, my friends, on Easter Sunday, how can you celebrate? How can you let everyone know
that you are a Christian, that you are a believer, that you are a Catholic. And hopefully they see it by your words. You know, a few times I said, you know, can I go into your house and will I see something that says, oh, this family here is Catholic. They have a statue of the Blessed Mother. They have a crucifix, or they have some other kind of religious symbol. And it goes even further than that, though. It's not just our homes. But how about you? If I talk to you on the streets and just talk, will I know that you are a person of faith, that you are a person of belief, of morals? Will I know that you are Catholic, you are Christian, by our words, by our actions, and by how we conduct ourselves? I think it's so important. I asked my students that this past week. I still do the class at the seminary, but we do it online. And I asked them, I said, if I went to your bedroom right now, would I see something Catholic? And they all said, oh, yeah. Then I asked them, I said, and if I talked to you on the street, would I know that you're Catholic? I'm saying if you're wearing a collar or something like that, but if you were, if you were just talking to me, would I know? My friends, the early Christians, they lived their life. And of course, unfortunately, later on, some of them died because of their faith and believing in Jesus. Remember the story about, Mary goes rushing up to the tomb and there's no one there, and how scared she is. And all of a sudden she sees who she thinks is the caretaker. Where have they laid him? Where have they taken him? Then Jesus says, Mary. Jesus says, Frank, Dan, Elizabeth, Catherine, Maximilian, Jason, Sandy, Mary. He calls each one of us by name. We are his. My friends, don't let the virus overtake you. Don't let the virus destroy you. It's here, and it will be gone, and it'll be destroyed because of everybody working together. And we are alive. We are alive in Jesus Christ. Even for those of us who have died because of the virus, they too are alive. My friends, I wish you a very happy Easter, and I hope that you are blessed this season. Now I'm just going to show you I'm going to take the camera in my hands and just show you around a little bit my room, so at least you have an idea of my life. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that opportunity to share with you where I live and who I am. Thank you. Now I'll show you the little room. This is my room. There's lots of paintings here. Right there you can see a little bit there. It's a little bit of candles and everything, but it's also my little humidor with my cigars. I'm a big fan of different Norberto works, more Norberto works. This is my messy desk here, and over here is a picture of one of my best friends. His name was Father William, and long story, he was a good coach and mentor to me. He did so much to help me become the man I am today. And I'm most grateful for all that he did. I hope you have people in your life that have been good mentors to you, good coaches, people who've helped you become who you are. Again, more pictures. I love pictures. Here's a thing in my telescope there, like that. Here's a picture of my family. Hope you can see that. Anyway, that. And various other things here in my room here, including the TV. Okay, listen, I wish you a very happy and a blessed Easter season. May God continue to take good care of all of us. Bye-bye.